This is a story about a dude named Lane. He moved to the mainland and bought one place to stay. And then one day he went try to rent them out. And then he became one real investor man. Hey everybody, this is Lane with the Simple Passive Cashflow Podcast. Please leave a review on iTunes. It really helps the show get bigger and better guests like Pat here. And also go to the network tab on simplepassivecashflow.com and sign up for the investor database that we're calling the Hui Deal Pipeline Club, or shoot me an email at lane@simplepassivecashflow. Today we got Pat Hyben. He is the podcast host for Real Estate Rockstars. How you doing, Pat?
Good. Thanks for having me, Lane.
So, Pat, how much simple passive cash flow are you making today, and how are you doing it?
You know, last year I made $480,000 horizontally in passive income. No vertical income. Like I don't trade time for money. Or I do. The podcast is trading time for money. That's not simple passive cash flow. But I didn't make any money on the podcast. Really made a couple of dollars. So majority of my income today comes from horizontal lines or passive income line.
Yeah, and it's important to point that the vertical stuff supports the horizontal in such a way.
Well, it allows you to buy. In the beginning, it allows you to buy stuff. Like the way I bought all my investments was I sold real estate. So I made commissions. Then I took the commissions that I made, invested them, and then that created a financially free lifestyle. So now I just do whatever I want to do, rather than do whatever makes me the most money.
All right. So you didn't always have that mindset. What is your Han Solo moment? And describe a time in your life where you made this pivot, and what was the resistance that was the catalyst for the change?
A couple of things, but first of all, when I grew up, I, just like every other kid, thought that the best way to make money is to trade it for time. And so I got jobs dishwashing and busboying at restaurants and things. And when I was 20, I lived down at the beach, and I got a job as a working in a deli slicing meats. I was making like $4 an hour or something. And I worked 40 hours a week, and my check was like $160, and then I would get taxes taken out. So let's just say it was $100 was left over. So I was like, okay, cool. I got $100, $105 every week. And another buddy of mine said, hey, I got this gig walking up and down the boardwalk where you have to hand out these little free coupons and try to get people to tour these timeshares that are being built. And if you get someone to go to one of these timeshares, you get $50. And he said, it's kind of hard, but if you get one person a day, you made $50. So I said, okay, let me give it a shot. So I went out on the boardwalk that day and basically got sunburned and just worked for 6-7 hours, just handing out these things, talking to people, saying, hey, you ought to go over here. You'll get a free dinner if you take this tour. You get a free dinner if you take this tour. And it basically was a gift certificate to a local steakhouse for $50 if they went and took the tour. So long story short, the next day I go in to this sales conference that they're having at this company, and they listed all of the salespeople's their numbers up on a board and the amount of sales that they got. And I'll never forget, I was number 101. And so the guy that was like the best salesperson at the company was this kid named Danny. They used to call him the boy next door. And he would average like 3 or 4 a day, which back, was a ton of money. It was like $200. And, if you did 4, and this was, 30 years ago. So what happened was I go in there and my number's 101, and there's a big crowd of kids, and they're all looking to see the score, to see who got the best and how many they got. And all of a sudden this kid, Danny, turns to his buddy and he goes, who the hell is 101? Because I blew him out of the water. And the thing was, you got a $50 bonus if you got the most that day. So I had gotten 5 that day. So I'd gotten $250 plus a $50 bonus. So I'd made $300 in a day, right? And here I'm making like 150, 160 working slicing meats. And I'm like, damn, I made twice as much in a day as a salesperson, right? Working entrepreneurial, as opposed to getting paid, hourly. And so I didn't even go back to the deli. I didn't even give my 2 weeks, nothing. Right? I was 20 years old. I went right back to this job. And I remember at the end of the summer, I went back to the deli, and the guy was like, I was wondering if you're ever going to come pick up this check. And I was like, well, sorry, but I got a better job. He's like, what's wrong with you kids these days? You give me that crap. But the moral of the story is that was my Han Solo moment, right? I was like, there's no way I'm getting an hourly wage ever again. And then I went on to graduate college, and right out of college, I got into real estate sales, right? I didn't even go for a salary job, right? I was like, that's for the birds. I need to be in some sort of sales where I'm making commissions, not money. And then from there, I met a buddy of mine. It's another Han Solo moment, David Osborne. And I was sitting with him, and he was sitting staring at this chart of some real estate offices that he owned. And we were actually at a seminar in the front row. And I'm like, dude, we're at a seminar in the front row. You should pay attention. He's, nah, I'm just going to look over my numbers. And he's going over his numbers back and forth. I'm like, what are all these things? He goes, these are all my horizontal lines. I'm like, what do you mean horizontal lines? He's like, well, these are houses that I own. These are real estate offices that I opened and what they paid me last month. And it was like $100 from this one, $50 from this one, $300 from this one. I was like, holy dirt. And this guy's not doing anything to earn these horizontal lines. So at that point, that was my second Han Solo moment. I just started building horizontal lines, and I did the old monopoly strategy because, Rich Dad, Poor Dad wasn't even published yet. None of that stuff was published. So I basically learned from monopoly, where you buy little green houses, then you trade them in for big red hotels. So I bought a whole bunch of little greenhouses, and then I sold a bunch, and I bought a shopping center, and I bought, a couple of apartment buildings, and started investing in companies. Now I have 57 lines of horizontal income. Now only 42 of those paid me money in 2016. Let's say, only 42 paid me money in 2016. Other 15, they're still alive. They might be dying, or they might be dormant or whatever, but they just don't pay, dividends. They don't just give me cash sideways.
And what's your worst life or business moment, and what did you do after?
Dude, it's like everyday occurrence, I mean, I've learned a lot. I've lost, I did an apartment deal last year. I lost $320,000 cash on, I put in 430, and 2 years later, I got back a check for 113. So that was pretty bad. That was my most recent one. That was 2016.
What was the issue that went wrong there? How could you have prevented it?
Well, we didn't know. We got into it was there was a property in the ghetto, and we had a murder, and then we had like a massive fight broke out. A little while later, and 7 people got stabbed, and then we got put on notice. And then after we got put on notice, we had a second murder. And the cops came to us and were like, you need to either, spend $1 million fixing this apartment building up, or you need to get it sold, because we're going to take away your rental license if you don't, if you have a third murder and you don't get it together here. And we didn't have the money. We didn't, we had like $3 million into it already. We didn't want to put another $1 million in it. And one of the guys who sponsored the loan, any syndication deal or any deal with multiple partners, you have to have one sponsor. So the sponsor started freaking out that we're going to lose everything. So we ended up putting on auction.com, and we sold it on auction.com. But, we took a bath on it. I don't know what he'd be able to sell it today for. This was last year, if he'd be able to sell for more or less. But anyways, the lesson learned, we didn't go there at night. We didn't ask enough people for advice. What do you think of this neighborhood? Is this really what we think we're getting into? We had done the same thing 3 times before in a more rural area of Georgia, same level of rents and number of Section 8s and things like that. But the crime wasn't anywhere near as bad. And this was just a very hardened, rough area of Texas, it was in Fort Worth, Texas. And it was just a really crappy ghetto. And we just had no clue that we were getting into this. We thought it was similar to what the 3 we bought first in Macon, Georgia, because they were all kind of lower income too. And we're like, oh, yeah, it's no big deal, But this was another story, and we got our ass kicked.
What was the occupancy when you bought it initially? Because I see a lot of these properties in like Memphis always comes up where it's like 30% occupied, and then the broker puts these projections of filling it up to 90%, and you're like, dude, that's not gonna happen.
Well, you can. I mean, we did make that happen in Macon. We bought one that was 35% occupied in Macon and brought it to 100%. But it was smaller. It was in our control, and we didn't have this outside force of crime, right? We didn't have any crime. I mean, you might have like 1 or 2 tenants addicted to OxyContin or some shit like that, but you didn't have, people killing each other. It wasn't. It was just a total different story, and so we struggled doing it. So you can do that, but we didn't have the wherewithal. If we had bigger pockets and had a couple $1 million and we hadn't signed for the loan personally, and we were willing to wait 10 years and put a couple million more into it and wait, and maybe get some experts that know what they're doing in bad neighborhoods with apartment buildings, or get a contract with Section 8, that filled the whole thing or something like that, we might have been able to withstand it or not. We didn't know. So we decided to get out quickly. We thought we would get half of our equity back. We ended up getting 30% of our equity back. So, we lost 70% of the equity. I put in $430,000. I lost $310,000.
I think the important takeaway for the passive investors listening out there is that you got to understand what kind of business plan this is. I mean, I go after 70-80% plus occupied buildings that are, right on the fringe of being pretty stabilized. Granted, the returns aren't as high as you go to some of these other projects. I mean, you're going after home runs, and you can get huge returns in just a matter of a couple of years, as opposed to it taking 5, 7, 8 years. So it's all a matter of understanding what the business plan and what the syndicator is trying to do here.
Yeah, I have some friends that syndicate, 10 a year or so in Georgia, and their whole strategy is buy and hold. They don't ever plan on, selling. So, it just depends what your strategy is too.
So, Pat, what's your simple passive cash flow number that you're trying to get to? Describe an ideal day, detailed routine, and what projects you're working on. Perhaps you're already there.
My passive income now is kind of like a room with a bunch of furniture in it, and I just move the furniture around. My income pays. I have something that I talk about on my podcast, which is called LTI, which is left to invest, which means after you pay your family bills and you pay your taxes, what is left to invest. So my left to invest now is about $200,000 a year. So I'm not like adding massive amounts to my horizontal lines, just because I don't have the vertical income to have a huge LTI, but the furniture in the room, I just move around. So, like last year, we sold I think we sold 2 apartment buildings. I got some profit checks from that. We also sold an office building, got a profit check from that. I'm not afraid to sell stuff. I'm not afraid to pay capital gains tax. I sell it and then I'll invest. I'm investing in all kinds of random stuff. I just invested $50,000 in a fund that basically loans lawyers money so they can run ads for vaginal mesh. So, these ads that you see on TV, mesothelioma, vaginal mesh, asbestos, stuff like that. And they're making a lot of money doing these class action lawsuits, but they just need to fund the TV ads. So it was an 18% loan. So I gave them a chunk of cash. Figure I get 18% on that. I've got a couple other private equity notes that I'm involved in, and I did one syndication last year of a apartment building in Florida.
Oh, so you're someone who's probably gotten past that crossover point where you have enough passive income that you've created your ideal lifestyle. Was it always like that, or were you at some point you crossed over to where you are now?
Yeah, I'm 51. And so I crossed over at 46. I was a real estate agent, had a real estate team. I sold my team in 2010. I released my book, 6 Steps to 7 Figures, and kind of went on book tour, which was a lot of hard work. And then so in 2011 rolled around, I'm like, I'm done. I'm just going to live off my passive. And I just I've for the past 6 or so years, I've been living off passive income. I created my podcast as a labor of love, and I have a university called Rebus University where I train other real estate agents how to make more commissions. And I started that last year, but I do those things just because I want to feel more productive, not because I have to, and I work on those things 3 days a week. So I have every weekend's a 4-day weekend for me. I only work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. And it's a vertical income source of choice. It's because I like to do it. I like to talk to people in real estate. So that's what I do. And I don't feel like I'm being too lazy. And also my kids have gone to college. When I got out of the game at 46 and started living off my passive income, my daughters were in high school, and I wanted to, spend, as much time as I could with them before they went off to college. So it was strategic in that sense.
When they were 0 to 10 years old, you were still trying to hustle and do everything and run around.
Yeah, I was a real estate agent, so that's a pretty consuming job. But I understand workaholism. I probably was for the first 10 years of my business, but after that, I leveraged it pretty well. I still was involved in it, but I wasn't ever, I didn't work too much. I never was a massive, I don't say I never was. There was a time in my 20s and 30s probably where I, would work 12-hour, 13-hour, 14-hour days if I needed to. But that stopped probably 15 years ago.
Is that because your kids were a certain age, or was it because you saw you're projecting where you're going to be in terms of passive cash flow?
It was more of a conscious thing. I just didn't want to, you know what I mean? It was a choice. I wanted to be with my family, so I stopped. I stopped working. I'm like, screw it. I'm not working. If I lose money, it's okay. But, it never happens like that. You always end up growing when you start adding other people, especially if the people are better than you.
Not being one of the big boys in investing quite yet, aka the accredited investor in the eyes of the SEC, it's tough to find good options for investing. But then I started investing in the American Homeowner Preservation Fund, or AHP Fund, which is crowdfunding the mortgage crisis in America. The fund collaborates with existing homeowners to keep them in their homes. It's a way to make great returns while feeling good about making a social impact. After investing myself in the fund, it was awesome when they approached me to become an advertiser of the company. You can start investing with as little as $100, and if you want the free Burn Zone book, please send me an email to lane@simplepassivecashflow.com. Yeah, what's your current 2-week experiment?
I'm building a kind of like an underground forum for real estate agents. A lot of people ask me to coach them, and I don't want to trade time for money, right? I mean, that goes against everything I just said in this podcast. And charging people, X an hour to coach them would be going against that. So I just don't want to do it. I get asked all the time. So what I did is what I'm doing is I have all these Facebook pages and stuff, and I hired a virtual assistant just to pretend she's me and just go on there and be me 24/7. And then I'm going to create this underground group, and in that group, that's going to be the only Facebook group that I actually go into. All the rest is going to be surface stuff, right? It's going to be like, surface stuff that a VA can do. So that'll be my closest form of coaching. And then I'm going to charge, and the long-term vision of it is, it's going to cost $97 a month to belong. And with that, you're going to get access to multiple courses and things like that. So that's the project that I'm working on right now.
So one thing I'm personally working on is getting my real estate license, not just really sell houses, but the opportunity to take extra deductions, and I might sell a house here and there. What are a couple of things I could probably take away from your course?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, you should, if you go check out rebusuniversity.com, there's a new course that we came out with called Certified Outbound Lead Specialist, which is basically, rather than paying money and getting leads thrown to you and you catch them, you actually go out and get the leads. And I think that more assertive sources, and I know that the deals are becoming harder and harder to come by now with this huge influx of real estate investors into the market. So I'm finding that a lot of people that are buying deals now are assertively finding them. You know what I mean? They're calling people. And I think that course would be one for you as a beginner, as to, how to assertively call out to people and how to get leads by being aggressive.
Yeah, sort of on my apartment investing front, which is pretty much my main thing. We're starting to call property management companies to try and get leads. They're usually the ones that are on the forefront of when an owner is in trouble. It's their property, it's their problem. So, and a lot of them are brokers, they like to sell too. So just using BAs for all sorts of things, like making calls like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you listen to my podcast too, Real Estate Rockstars, Barbara Corcoran was on there last week. And she talked about this thing called following the gay waiter. And her words, not mine, which are basically the poor creative. And basically what she does to buy real estate, and she owns half of New York. I'm exaggerating, but she just bought a $10 million penthouse overlooking Central Park that is, two top floors of this building. And she goes out to eat. She meets a gay waiter, and she asks him where he lives or she lives. And they usually live in, a blighted area that is up and coming. I mean, you could listen to it at Real Estate Rockstars, and she has some great advice for where to find deals. Robert Kiyosaki was on there, and he was talking about, don't go anywhere where you see cranes. If you see, more than 2 cranes, get the hell out of the city. And he used Vancouver, British Columbia as an example. It's like Crane Central, and it's just like massively overvalued. So
I think Seattle has like the country's majority of cranes, like something like
sell everything you own.
4 times as many cranes as New York City or something right now.
Sell everything you own there.
Yeah, but what do I know, right? Something that you recently thought about burning your cash on for a time savings or an improvement in quality of life?
I spend money on experiences. I just spent $50,000 on a trip to Australia and New Zealand with me and my family. I took my sister. I have an adopted sister from Taipei, Taiwan, and we found her biological family. She's 53 years old, so she hadn't seen these people in 42 years or something. We adopted her when she was 11. I flew her, myself, my kids, her kids, she has 3 daughters, all to Taipei for this incredible tear-jerking reunion. It cost me about $50,000. But it was worth every penny, just in the experience that everybody had, and just the fact that her family was able to find this long lost child that their mother had given away in a split second decision that the family regretted afterwards. But it was too late because she was already in America, and stuff like that you just can't put a price on. Hey,
funny thing, we were talking about that Seattle, the crane thing and how nobody listens to me to stop buying in Seattle because their ego gets in the way of their bigger and better things. What's something that you've changed your mind on recently or in the past few years that has made you a lot of money and that at first didn't quite come around to?
Yeah, that's easy. So if you ever read the book The Alchemist, they talk about the beginner's luck. And basically what beginner's luck is usually when you start something new, you have a lot of success in it because it's new and you're excited about it, and the universe is bringing luck to you. And
right,
but
the guy who goes to the gym and he benches 60 pounds and he goes to 90 pounds in 2 weeks, right?
Right, exactly. 2008, I started investing in non-real estate assets. I invested in a company that's a payroll company with a friend of mine, and that's done extremely well. Now it's in every state in the U.S. has like 60 employees, and it's cranking. But then after that, I invested in 15 more companies, 50 grand here, 100 grand here, helping people out, starting companies, things like that. And about half of them have failed. I had 2 go bankrupt in the last 6 months. I stopped doing that. To answer your question, I'm not doing anymore. Someone sent me the deal on Bulletproof Coffee was raising money. And he sent me a thing on it last week, and I looked at it and I was like, nah, I've had a lot of come bets already. If you play craps, what a come bet is. You're basically betting on the next roll to win. So I was like, no more come bets for me.
So how does somebody get in front of all that deal flow? I mean, I got a few deals that come my way, but it's nowhere near the next level. And then other people, all they get is like that crappy deal in Seattle. There's negative cash flow. So how do you step up to the next level?
You just got to put it out there to the universe, let people know, join groups. I'm in a group called Abundance, which is a men's mastermind fraternity kind of. And basically, you got to have $1 million in net worth or greater, and you got to make a certain amount of money to get in. And we're always talking about deals. Everybody's interested in investing. And we have an insider website, and we're constantly passing around deals. And so it's the people like that. It was like one of those guys that gave me the Bulletproof Coffee deal. Even though I didn't take it, it was interesting to look at.
Inside those groups, you have that relationship where like and trust each other. Funny, I had that GoBundance thing on my vision board.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. Do it.
Yeah, so Tony Robbins identifies 2 large concepts that we're continually struggling to gain perfection at. The first is the art of fulfillment, and the second is science of achievement. What is your secret or hack to first the science of achievement? Any secret habits?
I think mine is, and you've probably heard this before, R&D, which is rip off and duplicate. If I see something working, I'll try to duplicate it as fast as possible and just cut right through it. Just be like that guy that's like, okay, that's working for him. Let me just substitute my face instead of his and duplicate it. So that's how I've always done it.
Yeah, like right now, Facebook ads are pretty good. I'm not going to try and learn. I'm just going to pay someone to do it for me.
Yeah.
What is your secret hack to the art of fulfillment side?
That takes more time, I think. I've volunteered for a couple of really cool charities on a deeper level, and I'm not talking about just like serving people soup in a soup kitchen, but, two ones that I was heavily involved in and still am. One is Back on My Feet, which basically we run with homeless people, essentially, veterans that got addicted to heroin in Vietnam, and then, had screwed up lives and then have come off of heroin and now are trying to get healthy. And we jogged with them every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 a.m. I did that for about 4 years, and I still have relationships with a lot of these guys now. After that, I did a program called Children of Incarcerated Parents. And I basically took 2 brothers whose mom was in jail, put them under my wing about 5 years ago. Still, one of them was texting me this morning about he missed the bus, and I got him a $6 Uber to school. I think that if you're going to get in with a charity, you're going to get in with people. You just have to go deep, right? When I was running with the Back on My Feet guys, I was there every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I was a regular, right? They saw me. I was always there. And same with the children of incarcerated parents. Their mom recently got out of jail, but while she was in jail, and I'm still in touch with them, but I'm not like I was. But when she was in jail, I was with them every week. You know what I mean? And in the summertime, maybe even more than that. I really stepped up, and I'm just saying that because I think if you're going to do something, do it 100%. Do it the best that you can. Don't be shitty at anything that you commit to, or just don't commit to it. And both of those got me a ton of fulfillment.
Anything we missed, or want to leave your contact for anyone to get a hold of you, Pat?
Yeah, sure. So the real estate school is rebusuniversity.com. The podcast is called Real Estate Rockstars, and you can get that on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud, even Google Play. So we're out there. We've had over 1.5 million downloads. We have incredible guests on every week. So visit us there and let us know what you think.
All right. Thanks for your time, man.
We'll see you, Lane.
This website offers very general information concerning real estate for investment purposes. Every investor situation is unique. Always seek the services of licensed third-party appraisers and inspectors to verify the value and condition of any property you intend to purchase. Use the services of professional title and escrow companies and licensed tax, investment, and or legal advisor before relying on any information contained herein. Information is not guaranteed, as in every investment there is risk. The content found here is just my opinion, and things change, and I reserve the right to change my mind. Above all else, do your own analysis and think for yourself, because in the end, you are the only person who is going to look out for your best interests.